which also made me late. Hare Krishna. So here I am with a camera that looks quite dirty, doesn't it? Life is interesting. Okay, let's try to clean it. Oh, beautiful. Or is it better or worse or what? Better. There was a kid over here the other day and he stuck his finger on the lens. That might have done something. Hare Krishna. I'm all wrapped up in the holy name today. Hare Krishna. When I was a kid, you go to temple and you'd wear I don't know what you call it, but it looked like this. Can't think of the name. But this is what it looked like. I feel like I'm in a temple now. Temple of the holy name. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Shodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Shodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Shodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamana Tira Banachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Sisi Radha Madhava ki jai Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai Nitai Go Premanandi Haribo Srila Prabhupada ki jai Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shamini Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paschatyasatarine. Okay, just give me a second. I want to close everything. Actually, I think everything is closed. Okay, so Tanya, did we actually start on the chapter on Vena?
We started,
or
we
did
went
we
through the...
pretend to start? We start.
We went through the first verse, so we should be on 4:14:2.
So you probably noticed I have an obsession with demons because I like to talk about, when we talk about Lord Ram, I just end up talking about Ravana. when we talk about Lord Nishingadev, I did talk a lot about our friend and yours, my friend and yours, Hiranyakashipu. I'm quite what's the word? Enamored by demons. I think their lives are so instructive. Just like when you want to learn how to do something, sometimes you have to learn how not to do it. Because we tend to do it the wrong way. So, we can learn how not to do it. That also helps. Okay, so we're going to learn about how not to be like Vena, what he did wrong, so can not make the same mistake. Okay, this is text 2. This is from the 4th canto, chapter 14. Vira mataram ahuya sunithang brahmavadinaha prakritir asamamtam venam abhyasincham patim bhuvaha prakrityasamamtam venam. Translation. The great sages then called for Queen Mother Sunīthā. With her permission, they installed Vena on the throne as master of the world. All the ministers, however, disagreed with this, which does happen when sometimes presidents are elected. And, well, this is not a democracy, but the Brahmins, their word must be accepted. First, let me read verse number 1, because this is a continuation. The great sage Maitreya continued, O great hero Vidura, the great sages headed by Bhrigu were always thinking of the welfare of the people in general. When they saw that in the absence of King Anga, there was no one to protect the interests of the people, they understood that without a ruler, people would become independent and non-regulated. And then today, number 2, the great sages then called for Queen Mother Sunīthā, and with her permission, they installed Vena. Okay, so the sages installed Vena on the throne of the master of the world, but the ministers didn't agree with this. I'm assuming the ministers understood more about Vena than perhaps the sadhus did.
We can't hear you, Gurudev.
You can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Better you hear me and not see me than see me and not hear me, at least according to Shastra. So the second verse says that Maharajanga died. The first verse, Maharajanga died. He was Vena's father. Now there's no king. If there's no king or no powerful king, then you have problems, because the thieves and rogues, they'll go crazy whenever there's a weak government or like a weak police force, or in India and other parts of the world. You can just pay the police and say, I'm going to commit this crime. Don't say anything, and they go do it. That was actually done. These Brahmins wanted to kill Bhaktisiddhanta because he was exposing them, and they bribed the police, and the police said, yeah, we take bribes, no problem, but not for sadhus. I'm not going to do that. We're not that dumb. So So then the sadhus, the saints, they thought, okay, well, let's install Vena on the throne. But the ministers, second verse says, the ministers said, it's not a good idea because the ministers understood that Vena was a very bad boy, to put it mildly. But the saints were thinking, he's so terrifying that you won't have any crime. And that's what happened. When he was installed, on all the criminals were like, okay, I'm out of here. I was in Puri, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. And right around that time, the government cracked down on all the bogus gurus and all these bogus gurus who were cheating people and getting quite rich. Because you can make a lot of money as a bogus guru. As a genuine guru, I can't say you can become rich. But as a bogus guru, you can. The potential is great. Of course, the genuine guru is not in it for the money. But a bogus guru will calculate and he will demand donations from disciples and maybe sell mantras and whatever, not give someone initiation who doesn't pay enough money and so forth. So the government decided to crack down. And so many of these gurus were fleeing Orissa before they got caught. The big famous ones, you know. Isn't that interesting? Hare Krishna. So we have the point is you have a strong leader who is actually strong. The thieves, rogues will be punished. Nowadays, that's much different, you know. We send armies to conquer countries, but we can't get rid of drugs in our own, you know, drug cartels in our own country. Kind of weird, isn't it? I think something's backwards there. Okay, well, let's go to verse number 4. Sa arudha nripa stana unadhosta vibhuti avamene mahabhagan stabdha sabhavita sutaha. When the king ascended to the throne, he became all-powerful with 8 kinds of opulences. Consequently, he became too proud. By virtue of his false prestige, he considered himself to be greater than anyone. Thus, he began to insult great personalities. So, this is quite interesting. You know, sometimes devotees ask the question, maybe a typical question we talk about, let's say, appreciation, and then the devotee will say, "What, you know, if I get it, I know appreciation is good, but if I get it, then I become proud." Or they'll say something like, you know, I have a problem when I do something well, I become proud. And I always say, the pride is in there, that doing something well or getting the appreciation, it's only a catalyst. The pride, it's not like the pride came, you know, just came with the appreciation. No, it's already there. It's just, so don't confuse yourself. Like we say, when this happens, I become proud. My answer is, you already are proud. When that happens, it just makes you realize you're proud because the pride was in there. It just comes to the surface. Does that make sense? Sometimes I become like Guru Swami said, Prabhupada, sometimes, you know, when you do something well, it turns into Maya. And Prabhupada, and he meant, you know, you become proud. And Prabhupada said, you're always in Maya. It doesn't turn into Maya. Yeah. Sometimes I become proud. No, not sometimes. Until you're more Krishna conscious, it's all the time. It's just sometimes you become aware of the pride. Sometimes I become proud. Really? Only sometimes? That's pretty good. Better than me. One time, Shruti Prabhupada said to Prabhupada, he said, sometimes I feel compassion for the fallen souls. Prabhupada said, sometimes, why not all the time? So we, you know, I never said anything in front of Prabhupada because I knew if I said anything, you know, I would be exposed. So better than I would be exposed, but I would bother Prabhupada's brain by saying something stupid. So, you know. Sridhar Maharaj tells a story, because Prabhupada knew what one was thinking. He tells a story. He said Prabhupada was with this young man, he was Indian, just becoming interested in Krishna consciousness. And they were talking about something, and this young man quoted a verse, I believe from the Gita, and Prabhupada was very pleased. So then Ridhanandamarshad, well, when I have a chance, when Prabhupada's talking about something, I'll quote a verse also, and I'll then please Prabhupada, or I'll get his appreciation. But Prabhupada knew he was doing it for the wrong reason. So there was a discussion, and then Ridhanandamarshad, oh, now's my big chance. I can throw out a verse. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, there's a verse that supports this. He quoted the verse. And Prabhupada said, there are so many verses, just like, who do you think you are quoting verses? So I always took the policy, just don't say anything. Then you won't disturb your guru, and you won't have to look like a fool in front of everyone. Sometimes when devotees are on a walk, some devotee would ask a stupid question, everybody would look at him and go like this. Like, why did you ask that question? And sometimes you'd ask a question to Prabhupada that you thought was a perfectly good question, and he would say, well, why are you asking that question? Like sometimes, people would ask questions to Prabhupada, is this, are we entangled because of our karma? This, Prabhupada says, doesn't matter, you're entangled, get out of it. It's like, get to the essence. Like, why are you asking all these details, stupid details? What does it matter? Did I fall from the third floor or the fourth floor? It's just ask where the hospital is. So I took that policy. Don't say anything, everything will be good. You figured it out? So you have to give me a demo, right?
I will record a video.
Oh, okay. Tutorial for dummies. Yeah, okay. Hare Krishna. All of us in this generation are a little technically challenged, so we need to find a 7-year-old Chinese or Indian boy or girl to help us. So Radhabri just programmed my square. We got a square. Takes Apple Pay and all the other stuff when you can. Yeah, so she's going to make a video for dummies, so I know how to use it. And we can use it in Mexico, Rasika. I don't know if we have anything to sell. Maybe some USB sticks or something. I don't know. Books, we have some books, right? Okay, all right. So I don't know how we got on that topic of don't say stupid things. So yeah, because so what happened here is very common. Now Maharaj, before he wasn't Maharaj, now he's Maharaj. It's like Maharaj Renu Kijay. So all of a sudden it's like, one day you're a prince, kind of just fooling around, being a bit of a jerk, which he was, according to Bhagavatam, because he tortured his friends, because that's what his nature was. Now all of a sudden, Maharaj ki jai ho. So that, it's going to his little head right now. The prince has become the king. So we all know about that. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we all know how easy it is to become proud of nothing. What to speak if you're actually a king of the world? That's something to be proud of, isn't it? So this is such a great lesson. One day you're just, sitting in your house. No, one day you're shopping to buy your dinner, and then you cook it, and then you wash the pots and wash your plate, and then you clean up the kitchen. You're just like everybody else, just somebody or a nobody, but no special buddy. And then the next day, Maharaj ki jayo, and now you're God, and you're the God's gift to the universe, isn't it? You're a nobody. You're a nobody. Tanya gets this idea. She puts out this little TikTok thing. She gets this idea, puts it out. So, next day, 10 million hits. Now she's a somebody. Still has to go shopping, cook her dinner, wash the pots, clean the kitchen, like that. But now Tanya's thinking, I'm a somebody. Hare Krishna, I'm a somebody. I'm a 10 million hit somebody. How many hits do you have? I'm using Tanya's example. She would never become proud. It's not possible, but we're just having fun. So we all know how that works, don't we? You go from nobody to somebody, and all of a sudden you think you're somebody when you're still nobody. This one, I think he was a mandolin player. There's a magazine called Guitar Magazine. And he was voted by Guitar Magazine, which is it's an international magazine for guitar players. It's like, I think it's the magazine for guitar players. He was voted the best that year, the best mandolin player in the world. So that's a prestigious magazine. It's a prestigious position. The best mandolin player in the world. And then he wrote a letter to the editor. He said, now that I've been voted the best mandolin player in the world, does this mean I can pay my rent now? It's like, you're now the best mandolin player in the world, but you're still, still have to brush your teeth tomorrow morning and cook your vegetables and clean your toilet, right? So when we're praised, we forget all that we're just ordinary. And we had such a good example with Prabhupada, who was definitely extraordinary, who never took the position of extraordinary. So please don't forget that. But this is a challenge. I can't say all of you will be in elevated positions where people will praise you, but the chances are good that somebody will praise you. And the chances are good you'll do something of value that is praiseworthy, or you may do many things of value, or you might even say something like even Einstein couldn't say. And people will be like, wow, that's amazing. Even Einstein couldn't say that. Then what happens to us? We start to believe it, that we're special, right? Yeah, we're especially fallen. That's what we are. But we believe we're special now. Like we're still spiritually infants, neophytes, but we do something materially successful. We think, wow, yeah, Maharaj ki jayo. So that's what happened to Vena. It was typical. The people say, oh, the Bhagavatam is millions of years ago. What does it relate to? This is so typical, right? You're nobody, and you luckily get a part in a movie, and all of a sudden you get best supporting actor or actress, and now you're somebody. Whereas yesterday you're waiting tables. Now you just bought a home in Beverly Hills. Like overnight you're somebody. So in Hollywood, they say, be nice to the people when you're moving up, because you'll have to be nice to them because they're going to meet you when you're moving down. So it's like, so when you move down, you again become a mouse. But but you thought you were a tiger, but you were still a mouse. You're just like that. So that is, yeah. And the reason that happens, I just have to be frank. Because we're hankering after this. We're hankering after prestige. We're hankering to be better than others. Why are we hankering to be better than others? Because we're still trying to be God. So when you see that in you, don't think, well, you can think it's normal, but it's better to be specific. I'm still trying to be Krishna. That's why I want this. I'm still competing. Just not competing as much as I was before I was a devotee, but I'm still competing, right? When you see something and you think, oh, that would be enjoyable, and you're not thinking Krishna would enjoy it, or there's no way Krishna could enjoy it, only you could enjoy it. When you're thinking like that, then what's going on here? What's happening? I'm trying to be the enjoyer. That's his position. It's not my position. So like if we put the dots together, wait a minute, I'm a devotee and I'm still trying to enjoy. I'm still trying to take Krishna's position. How can I have a relationship just like I go to Gaurapriya's house and I kick her out? It's mine now. I'm taking over. Like, okay, and then Gaurapriya goes, no, it's my house. So like, okay, Krishna, yeah, it's your world and everything, but I'm taking over. It's my house now. I know it's your house, but that's how we're thinking. Enjoyer, I'm the enjoyer. No, it's her house to enjoy. I'm a guest. You're a guest in this world. It's Krishna's world. It's Krishna's house. He's letting you live in it. Be thankful. Next time you look at something and say, and start contemplating how you can enjoy it, just remember, now I'm competing with Krishna. Right now, at this moment, I'm competing with Krishna. And the next time I'm hankering for pride, think, right now I'm competing with Krishna because I want what he has, right? Right, and Mayaresh, when it gets really bad, And like every young man, women don't know this, but men know this, like every young man. Women know that men like women, they just don't know how many women they like at one time. One's not, we have laws and rules, so one is all you get. But if we didn't have those rules, polygamy, all hell would let loose, right? Why? Where'd that come from? Well, Krishna has 16,000, right? So we have that same propensity in a perverted way. And someday we will think, wow, Krishna has 16,000 wives. That is ecstatic. And I'm going to take sannyas and have no wife, and we'll be happy. That's it, right? But before that happens, we think, oh, I also want to enjoy like Krishna. No, you can't enjoy like Krishna. You can serve like you are a servant. That's your position. So you take a wife, one, only one, not three, not six, and enjoy the wife? No, sorry. Serve her. You mean I have to serve her? Are you kidding me? I didn't get married to serve. I got married to enjoy. Sorry for the bad news. This is all Krishna's arrangement to purify us of our enjoyment. Well, I have bad news for you, my Resh. You can't enjoy women. I've tried. It doesn't work. You don't have to try. I already did it for you. And the more you try, the more you will suffer. To the degree you try to enjoy, to that degree you will suffer. Guaranteed. It's built into the material world. It's just how it works. But when Krishna tries to enjoy, he actually knows how to do it. We don't. And if we enjoy his enjoyment, we enjoy. And if we try to enjoy like he does, separately, we suffer. And we have to suffer a lot till we understand, maybe I'm not the enjoyer. Maybe that's what it means. Yeah, after like 10 million births, lights start going off. And they don't go off all at once. It's kind of like, maybe. Maybe I missed something. Yeah, not maybe, definitely. Yeah. So isn't that interesting? You put the dots together. When you want to enjoy, you're competing with Krishna. When you want whatever it is you want to enjoy, unless you can offer that to Krishna. I want to become famous. Why? Because if I become famous, more people will listen to me. That's fine. No problem. I don't want it to enjoy fame. I don't want to become famous so I can impress all of you. Oh, Mahatma Prabhu is famous. I want to go visit him in Alachua and hang out. If you're lucky, I'll give you a minute or two of my darshan because I'm famous. I have no time for you. What do you call commoners? That's not why a devotee would want to become famous. He would want to become famous only. A devotee doesn't want to be famous, but if he does, it's only to promote Krishna consciousness. To promote we want to become famous, then I can tell everybody about Prabhupada. Then everybody, if I'm famous, then I can make Prabhupada famous. That's the idea. Okay, Maharaj Vena, he couldn't handle the position. That's the purport of this verse, right? Okay. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, what happened? Well, in the last line of the verse, he began to insult great personalities. So Prabhupada says, he was not very considerate, and he began to misuse power and insult great personalities. So that's what happens when you become proud. You start insulting people. Well, it's common, right? We had a former president in the US, and he would do interviews with news media. He would insult them. Practically everybody he would insult. If someone questioned him and he didn't like the question, he would insult them. Instead of answering the question, he'd say, that's a terrible question. Or he would say, your news media is fake news. Why should I answer your question? And you're a fool to work for them, and things like that, which any intelligent person could just notice that he wasn't answering the questions. It's called ad hominem in logic. When you don't answer the question, but you attack the person. They ask you a question and you say, You don't answer the question. Mahatma Prabhu, why this and that in Bhagavatam? Who are you to ask about Bhagavatam? You didn't graduate high school, just go back to school, you're an idiot. Which is another way of saying, I don't know the answer to that question. Of course, in some cases, the guru may actually give good instruction, but I'm talking about an ordinary person, if they answer that way. Sometimes they answer that way because that's their nature. So in the Bhagavad Gita, impudent, arrogant, these are the qualities of the asuras: impudent, arrogance, harsh words, harsh speech. So Vena is like poster child for that verse in the Gita. Tanya, can you come up with that verse? Maybe in the 16th chapter, Divine and Demoniac, or somewhere else. Just search the word impudence, arrogance, like that. And that verse will describe, not only will it describe Vena, it'll describe lots of people, public figures. Sometimes that's how people get positions, through impudence and arrogance, not through actual ability. So she's going to try to get the verse. Should we have the race? There it is. No, she hasn't got it yet. Anyway, conceit, these are the words: conceit, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those. There's another one. Yeah, that's good. Anything about arrogance and impudence? It's another verse I was thinking of. It's the way they speak. Anyway, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance, they all go together. If you find the other verse, let me know. Self-complacent, always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige. They sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only without following any rules. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme One. That's another one. Still thinking there's one more. Maybe maybe that's it, arrogance, conceit. Anything about harshness, bewildered by Tanya's on the roll. Harshness or arrogance? If you come up with anything, let me know. Okay, I'm going to read the next verse. I'm sure we're going to read more about his harshness, conceit. So this is, I guess, Tanya, you can put up text 5, and then after you put it up, you can look if there's anything about arrogance and harshness. Evam madanda utsikto nirankusha iva dvipaha paryatam ratan ashtaya kumpayan niva hurodasi. When he became overly blind due to his opulence, King Vena mounted a chariot and, like an uncontrolled elephant, began to travel through the kingdom, causing the sky and the earth to tremble wherever he went. That means he was quite powerful. Power in the hands of the wrong person is extremely dangerous. Text 6. Na yashtavyam, na dattavyam, na dhotavyam, dvija kvachit, iti dhyavarayad dharmang, berigo shena sarvashaha. So, all the twice-born Brahmins were forbidden henceforward to perform any sacrifice. And they were also forbidden to give charity or offer clarified butter. Thus King Vena sounded kettle drums throughout the countryside. In other words, he stopped all kinds of religious rituals. Yeah, Prabhupada said he owed so much to America because here is where Krishna consciousness started, and they gave us religious freedom and so forth. So that certainly was beneficial for the country of America, and actually for the whole world eventually. So Prabhupada appreciated America, but there are other countries where All religious activities were curtailed. We were arrested, as you know, in Russia. And there are countries that really appreciate religion. And pretty much the kids are trained up without, educated without religion. So our idea is that education means self-realization. So if you remove that from the life of the citizens, you cannot really hope that people will become virtuous. But aside from that, the duty of the government is to help people go back to Godhead. That's the real duty. Now listen to what Prabhupada says. Well, I'm going to check if, did you find any more verses, Tanya? Arrogance and harshness, harsh speech, something like that. What was committed by King Vena many years ago is at present being carried out by atheistic governments all over the world. The world situation is so tense that at any moment governments may issue declarations to stop religious rituals. Yeah, well, that is happening in some places to some degree. Eventually, the world situation will become so degraded that it will be impossible for pious men to live on the planet. Wow. Therefore, sane people should execute Krishna consciousness very seriously so that they can go back home, back to Godhead without having to further suffer the miserable conditions predominant in this universe. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Prabhupada saying, it's going to get worse. I mean, it will get better also, but simultaneously it will get worse. It's kind of bewildering, isn't it, sometimes? That, we say, well, it's an era of golden age. So many people are interested in spirituality. They're so much more aware than they used to be. At the same time, the world's getting worse. So both things are happening. Okay, I am going to give me a second, everyone, and I'm going to see if I can find what I was looking for. I once found a verse. Here it is. Well, maybe you got this one. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. Maybe that was what I was looking for. Yeah, I think that's probably it. Harsh speech. Yeah. This verse is from the 16th chapter of the Gita, text 4. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, ignorance. There's kind of, you see a lot of that in leaders today, don't you? Okay, can you tell me what verse we're on? I had to leave. We're in 4 what? 4-7 something?
4-7, yes.
What's the verse number?
7.
477?
No, sorry. 4:14:7.
4:14:7. Okay. Yeah. So the real idea, Prabhupada's, what he taught us was that, well, the government is obviously supposed to take care of people, but they're supposed to ensure that people are progressing spiritually. That's their duty. That's what they're supposed to do. And that, of course, that's what the Brahmins are helping people do, and the government is just following the Brahmins. So that's the idea. Okay, we'll read the next verse. This is text 7, is that correct? Venasya viksha munayo turvitasya vicheshtitam vimsha Vim Rishya Loka Vyasanam Kripayochu Sma Satrinaha. Therefore, all the great sages assembled together and after observing cruel Vena's atrocities, concluded that a great danger and catastrophe was approaching the people of the world. Thus, out of compassion, they began to talk among themselves, for they themselves were the performer of the sacrifices. So this gives us a good idea of how culture worked in ancient times in India. The Brahmanas, you maybe have heard this. The Brahmanas were the most detached. And the Brahmanas couldn't function without detachment because they had to advise the king. And, nowadays, if you advise a leader, if you're a minister in the government, you advise a leader in a way in which is not palatable to him, he could fire you. And that's what was that happened a lot in America with people that didn't like our former president. I think more people got fired from his government than any time in the history of the world. So a lot of people wouldn't say anything because they had to maintain their families, right? Correcto? No puede. Dijo? I can't say. Dijo? No puedo. No, I can't say anything. Nunca.
No pueden decir nada.
No, say it again.
No pueden
No puede.
decir nada.
What was the third word? Decir?
Decir, to say. Decir,
Decir nada. Can't say anything. So, okay. Decir, no puede decir nada. If I say anything, I get fired. So the Brahmins had to be detached enough that they could speak the truth without concern about the ramifications. So if you're not in that detached position, you'll be careful about what you say because you could lose your position. But not only would the Brahmins not lose their position, that's how they gain their position, is through truthfulness. So if the Brahmins were playing up to leaders, like Sukracharya did with, Sukracharya was a good example. He's supposed to be a Brahmin, but he instructed Bali, don't surrender to Vishnu. And Bali said, you've always told me to surrender to Vishnu. Why are you telling me not to now? And he was worried, Prabhupada said he was worried about his paycheck because he knew Vamana was going to steal everything from Bali. So he said, don't listen to him, he'll take everything. And if Bali has nothing left, then how is he going to pay Sukracharya? Sukracharya is out of a job. So he wasn't properly detached. So you can't function as a Brahmin unless you're detached. And so that's a fundamental quality because you have to guide society. And you know how some people are willing to speak the truth and they do, and they lose their jobs, like as professors or politicians. Have you seen that? You've seen that in Chile, in your country, corporate, yeah. If you teach anything but evolution in many universities, you will not be allowed to teach biology or anthropology. You have to go along with it. In fact, this has been documented by Druta Karma Prabhu and Siddhartha. If you dig up something in the earth, and you go, oh my Govinda, here's a skull, it's been dated like 40 billion years ago. That doesn't work with modern understanding. And you try to publish that. If you want to keep your head on your shoulders, don't publish it. Seriously. Or at least if you want to keep your job, don't publish it, because you'll lose your job, if not your head. These are true stories, people testifying to this. But the Brahmins, Like, okay, take my head. This is the truth. Like Socrates. Was it Socrates who was sentenced to death? It was like, whatever, you can't kill me. You can kill my body, you can't kill me. Didn't back down. So Brahmins have to be like that. And detachment also causes you to be objective. Yeah. The best political leaders in our region were killed. Yeah. If you're not detached, you won't even, what speak of speaking the truth, you won't even see it. Right? Did someone ever tell you something that was true and you just like, you ran away from it? You just, no, it can't be. And you just like, don't say that. Have you ever done that? Because if you have, you're not a Brahmin. If you run away from truth, you're not a Brahmin. Sorry to say, although it's not on the test to become a Brahmin, but it's a fact. Have you ever heard a truth that you just like can't accept it? So Brahmins are detached. So they're Brahmins are attached to truth, whatever is true. And then traditionally, the scientific method was a search for truth. It wasn't a search for a theory about the truth. It wasn't a search to prove your theory. It wasn't a search to manipulate results to validate your theory. It wasn't a search to make assumptions about your theories being true, and then somehow or other subjectively convincing yourself that all your evidence supports your theory. It wasn't like that at all. It was a search to find out what's true. True. That's Brahminical work. And so now we see in the world, there are attachments to thinking a certain way because many of the leaders in the scientific community are attached to killing God. And so they don't want any theories which would in any way insinuate that there's a need for God. They're just like, no way, it's wrong, it can't be. So they will even ignore objective truth too. Isn't it? Have you seen that? Like if you're a diehard atheist, and I say there's God and try to provide evidence, you just become angry. Myra said he couldn't believe about Prabhupada going when he said they didn't go to the moon. Prabhupada sat and watched the whole moon landing on TV. Did you know that? He sat there and watched it. One devotee tells a story. They're watching it, and the devotee comes to Prabhupada's house or his room, and one devotee, Prabhupada says, "Come in, we're watching TV." And so Prabhupada saw the whole thing, and his comment was, they didn't land on the moon. That's what he said. I mean, other devotees may understand it in other ways. Scientifically, I am no expert, but this is a story I'm relating. And I was with Prabhupada on a walk, and he said the same thing. So anyway. And shortly after, there was a newspaper article by two NASA scientists that said they didn't go to the moon. So whatever. Anyway, you can see that a preacher is not attached to any particular truth. They're just attached to the truth. So if they didn't go to the moon, what's the problem? They didn't go, but no, they had to go. It's America, we wouldn't lie, Okay, so then we can't be attached like that. So that's what it means to be a Brahmin. So the Brahmins are attached to what is best for the people. They're not attached to some company bribing them with money because they won't take the bribe, to let us, just say this. We'll give you, $10 million. Like imagine someone offered you $10 million for you to say something that wasn't true. I mean, that's like, you'll be laying up at night going, I don't know, 10 million, we could build like 10 temples tomorrow. And I just have to, say that. You just have to ignore some evidence, say I didn't see it. Brahmins, nope, there's no question. Brahmins are just like, no, that's it. I'm not going to say it. Because whatever is best for the people, they'll do. Of course, it's easy to say that, right? Because nobody's offering me $10 million. But you understand the point. Detachment, right? You understand? Okay. All glories to Vena. He's teaching us so many good things, right? How not to be. Okay. So Prabhupada says in the purport, when they saw how bad Vena was, the people began to think, the Brahmins began to think of the people's welfare. It's like people say, well, you're Hare Krishnas, what do you care about this world? You're all about liberation. But we see in the devotees they do care. They don't want to see people suffer, not even materially do we want to see people suffer. So look at what Prabhupada says. But actually, devotees and saintly persons are always anxious to see how the people can be made happy, both materially and spiritually. It's the problem is if you're just trying to make them happy materially, then it's like, okay, that's maybe the prime duty of a Kshatriya. But as Brahmins, we don't want to see people suffering anyway, but it's not that we're just going to cater to the material needs and avoid the spiritual. Right? Definitely we won't do that, but Prabhupada's making the point, we do care that people are suffering. So the sages began to think, okay, what are we going to do now with this guy? Because he's creating havoc. So now we go to text 8. I think there was a band called Wreak Havoc. It's an American saying, when you create chaos, we say you wreak havoc. You say that in India also, wreak havoc. Mayuresh, you heard that saying? Wreak havoc? No, it's an maybe American expression. It means to create chaos. It means to create chaos. You can look it up. Wreak havoc. HAVOC, I think. So this text 8. Aho ubhayata pratang lokasya vyasanam mahat darunyubhayato dipte ivataskara palayoho. Oh. When the great sages consulted one another, they saw that the people were in a dangerous position from both directions. When a fire blazes on both ends of a log, the ants in the middle are in a very dangerous situation. Similarly, at that time, the people in general were in a dangerous position due to an irresponsible king on one side and thieves and rogues on the other. So, in other words, this verse is saying, on one side, you have this king that's destroying people. On the other side, you have thieves and rogues ready to destroy people if you remove this king. So, what to do? Or maybe this verse is saying, it seems contrary to what we read before, that they would be saying both are happening at the same time. But yeah, there's also, at least we understand if you get in the middle, Vena will get to you. And if he doesn't get to you and he's kicked out, the thieves and the rogues will get to you. So don't win. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Don't live, don't die. That's the Indian. Don't live, don't die. That's a joke. In India, if someone creates chaos, he's called a Pakistan. Indians love Muslims. Hindus love Muslims, I can tell. And now I'm assuming, Ajinka, you may have many more jokes about Muslims, right? If you're Hindu. I have some news for you, Ajinkya. You're actually not a Hindu. You're not even a Ajinkya. You're not even Indian. You're not even a man. Just wanted to let you know in case you forgot. Okay, we'll go to the next verse. Text 9. Rajaka bhayad isha krito rajatad arhanaha tatopyasid bhayam twadya katam syat shashti dehinam. Thinking to save the state from irregularity, the sages began to consider that it was due to a political crisis that they made Vena king, although he was not qualified. Yeah, you're like sometimes in elections, like, who are you voting for? The lesser of two evils. They're both bad. But what are we going to do? We need a president. We need a prime minister, And sometimes, that there was a story I read, I don't know the details, but there was a strike in a hospital, I think in Germany. For 1 week, the doctors walked out. And that week, less people died than normally. So I think, no doctors in the hospital, what's going to happen? People were actually healthier that week. Not a criticism of doctors directly, but an interesting reality. Actually, it is a criticism of doctors. Maybe it could have been just a coincidence. We don't know. But I think the person was against allopathic doctors and saying, well, if you take them out, things will actually get better. So, then the question is, what's worse, no leader or a bad leader? That was kind of the dilemma that Brahmins had. Said, we know he's not qualified, but there's no leader. So the lesser of the two evils is Vena. But now they're saying, no, this doesn't work. So many elections in the world, it's something like that. Who are you voting for? The lesser of two. Who are you voting for? Neither. They're both bad choices, but what to do? Where are the good leaders? We're looking at the future leaders of the world on this Zoom call right now. Thinking to save the state from irregularity, the sages began to consider that it was due to a political crisis that they made Vena king, although he was not qualified. But alas, now the people were being disturbed by the king himself. Under such circumstances, how could the people be happy? So Prabhupada makes the point that the Brahmins, they have so many duties, but they can't give up this duty. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that everybody has to do sacrifice, and now Vena stopped all the sacrifices. And then if people don't do sacrifice, they're not going to advance. So this is really bad. Nobody's advancing spiritually. So based on this, any leader who's not helping people advance spiritually should be removed. Not that we have the right to do it. And not that we have anybody better to put in. But this is the standard. A leadership, its responsibility is to help people advance. Okay, it's 10:32 and time for questions. Standard, I stop at 10:32, take questions if there are any. And if not, we continue reading. Questions or commentaries? Mandara asks, Mandara Saka. What happens if one does not help the souls that are in animal or vegetable bodies by giving them prasadam, chanting the Maha Mantra? How do these souls advance to be able to get out of those bodies? You go on japa walks and chant loudly and liberate them. I was just listening to Prabhupada, maybe it was yesterday. I was talking about animal sacrifice. These Brahmins sacrifice a cow. I think it's a cow, maybe other animals, maybe a horse also. They sacrifice, they do their mantras. If the sacrifice and the cow is killed, but in this particular sacrifice Prabhupada was referring to, they get a human body, so they don't have to go through, monkeys and gorillas and apes and all that. They go straight, or whatever bodies they have to go through, they go straight from cow to human in the sacrifice. So that's, so if you give animals prasadam, then they'll go straight to the human form. They will bypass all the others. Otherwise, they have to go through the conveyor belt of different species. That would bring them back to humans. And, vegetables, fish, insects, pretty low down on the totem pole. So they will have to take so many bodies gradually. But if they get the mercy of a devotee, like if you become a fly and you fly into the Charanamrita, wow, you might actually fly back to Godhead that way. You come up to Vaikuntha and they go, how'd you get here? Oh, I died in a bowl of Charanamrita. Yeah, that could happen. It's possible. But at least human form. We told the story, whether it's fantasy or true. There was a story where a devotee was doing past life regressions, and one devotee's past life was an insect that fell in the Charanamrita, became a human being. That must have been me for sure, in a way, of course. And you're all thinking, no, that was me. I'm so fallen. I was just a fly in the Charanamrita. I go, no, I was a blade of grass in Navadvip 500 years ago. Devotees walked on me. Or maybe they evacuated on me, or maybe they threw some prasadam on me or something. I have no qualification. Yeah, well, all these things can happen. So Prabhupada says we should be merciful to all living entities. We shouldn't just think about ourselves. So you can feed prasadam to animals, be merciful. They'll get human form with a chance to perform devotional service. Why not? Hare Krishna. There's a devotee in Mayapur and he takes care of all the sick dogs. He's got a little place for them. He brings them in, especially the young ones. They're pretty healthy. And he takes care of the sick cows also. Nice, huh? Sick cows and bulls, he rescues them. Or wandering cows, rescues them. And then he's got a bunch of dogs. I mean, there's lots of dogs in Mayapur. Corporate, you can go there, get like 2-acre plot of land, just fence it in, bring all the dogs there. Have them sit down in lines, take prasadam, serve them out their dog prasadam. Dogs in India they carry rabies and other diseases, so people, outside of wealthier people in cities who actually take care of their dogs, people just shoo the dogs. Get away, you got rabies, don't get near me. But this devotee was kind enough to take care of them. I think it was Gaura Kishodas Babaji or Jagannath Das Babaji was eating prasadam and a dog came and the servant was trying to shoo the dog away and he said, no, let him eat. He's a Brajbasi. He's a Dambasi. Let him eat. He had that vision. Hare Krishna. If we only had that vision. Could you elaborate a little about serving the spouse, especially serving the wife, being a husband? Well, I could tell you something interesting, Ajinkya. At least I find it interesting. Because a lot of things in our scripture talk about the wife serving the husband, but they don't talk about the husband serving the wife, right? The wife should be a menial servant. Devahuti was a menial servant of Kardama. So then Sukanya served Chaivana Muni. He was grumpy, but he was grumpy and old enough to be her grandfather, and she served him. Very pleasant, didn't say anything nasty, always encouraging words, praising him. But we don't find so much about the husband being nice to the wife. We find more about the husband protecting, right? So then we've even seen like some husbands think, well, the wife is supposed to be menial and humble and submissive and chaste, but the husband doesn't have to be. Well, chaste means you have one wife, so the husband, but you don't generally talk about the chaste husband, talk about the chaste wife, but think about it, doesn't the husband have to be chaste? Well, maybe technically he can have more than one wife, but Prabhupada didn't want us to do polygamy, so the husband has to be a chaste husband, right? Just as a chaste. Prabhupada said it was more difficult to manage his home family than it was to manage ISKCON. So you have to, you become the servant. So now what's interesting is sometimes we see that when a man gets married, somehow he thinks he's kind of in a new tattva, you know. Before his brahmacharya was Nitya Krishna Das, and we know Nitya Krishna Das, servant of Krishna eternally, means servant of everyone. But now that he got married, somehow he's a new tattva. Now he's Nitya Krishna Das and the servant of all living entities, except one, his wife. Now he's the master. New tattva, you know. Prabhu, he's now in Prabhu tattva. No longer jiva, no longer Nitya Das tattva, it's Prabhu tattva. I am the master. Now that we are married, I am in a new tattva. My constitutional position has changed from servant of all to master of you. You must be submissive, chaste, humble, and a menial servant. You must do whatever I say. Yeah, so I'm not minimizing that a wife should be a humble, submissive, chaste servant, but it's not one-sided. I'm not saying that a husband has to be a, what do you call that? Henpecked husband, you know. Any whim that his wife has, he just does, you know, and to a point where it's not healthy for her, for him. No, not like that. Obviously not like that. But how is it that I was trained as a brahmachari to become servant, and then when I get married, I think I'm master? What happened? What verse did I miss? Because I haven't seen that verse anywhere. Have you? Have you seen it, Ajinkya? That when you get married, you become the man. You go from the servant to the man. You be the man, we say. Of course, there's some truth to that, you know, because male ego wants to dominate. Women are happy to be protected. And most women, you know, who have husbands who are qualified naturally respect him, and it's easy to follow. But when Prabhupada was asked the question, should my wife do whatever I say? He said, you should be so arrogant. And you should be so arrogant to think like that? Like, where did you get that? And he said, well, you know, I read it in the books that the wife should, you know, be humble and menial and this and that. So, but Prabhupada doesn't say that the husband is meant to be arrogant. That's not him. The wife is humble and submissive, therefore it means the man is arrogant. No, it doesn't mean that at all. But sometimes we think like that, right? Or we take advantage. Does that make sense, Ajinkya? So I think the best way is to understand that we're servants, married or unmarried, we're servants. Yes, I'm a servant of everyone, but I won't serve my wife because real men don't serve their wives. No, it's the opposite. Phony men don't serve their wives. Weak, emasculated men don't serve their wives. Strong men do, because it takes strength to, you know, deflate your ego enough to be a servant to everybody, right? Prabhupada served his disciples. He used to cook prasadam for him. Does a real guru not serve his disciples? Prabhupada washed their dishes. Does a real guru not wash his? A real guru would never wash the dishes of his disciples. Well, we have a real guru who did it, because a real guru is humble. So, you know, we get things mixed up. Well, maybe traditionally Guru is not, it's not proper etiquette that the guru should wash his own dishes when there's 25 disciples in the same room, just talking and chatting and gossiping. Yeah, of course. We understand that. But in light of the circumstances, Prabhupada did it. Of course, eventually they learned that it wasn't proper. But he did it. Doesn't mean he's guru, he doesn't do it. He stayed at the lady's home and he washed his own clothes. Now that I'm your guest, you will be washing my clothes every day at 3 p.m. You can find them by the door of my room. You will be cooking dinner. It will be served at 6:30 p.m. And this is what is on the menu for this week. Was he doing that? After all, I am the guru. Yeah. The problem is that men don't know what real men are because they have all these bad examples from Bollywood movies. A real man goes up to some tough guy and kicks him in the face. That's a real man. I don't think that's a real man. I think that's a real sissy. A real man would be able to pacify that guy with words, right? That's what they teach you in martial arts. Before you hit, you talk to them. You talk them out of the fight. Prabhupada conquered the world without one slap. That's a real man. Slapped him with his words. So that's a weak man, It's like somebody gets angry, like, wow, he really got the job done. No, he doesn't know how to communicate. The only way he knows how to communicate is get angry, and everybody's scared, afraid of him, so they do it, but he hasn't inspired anybody. That's not a real skill. It just looks like he's rough and tough. Who is a stronger man? Gandhi said it takes a lot of strength to be humble. We think humble people are weak. I don't think so. What verse is that? Humble people are weak. I never read that verse. Why do we say things that aren't even in our Shastra? Oh, if you're humble, people walk all over you, sign of weakness. I never read that anywhere. Arjuna was humble. He killed like how many millions of people did he kill? He killed them out of his humility. He was just serving Krishna humbly killing for Krishna. Yudhisthira was humble, humbly ruling the world. So, don't become humble, you just become weak, become a sissy. Yeah, become a sissy like Arjuna, a sissy like Yudhisthira, a sissy like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Most humble, these most humble warriors are most humble devotees. Like, we say things, we say stupid things. Because we don't even know what humility means. We define it materially. So that's why we say these things. So, okay, Jinky, here's the question. Does it take strength to say, I'm sorry? Yes or yes? Does it take strength to say, I'm right, you're wrong? No, it just takes a big ego. No strength required, just a big ego. Correct? Yeah, I'm sorry. My dear Devi, I'm sorry. I did the wrong thing. I said the wrong thing. Please forgive me. That takes strength. For a big macho man with an ego the size of New York City, that's not easy. But when you become humble, that's what you do. Oh, I apologized to my wife today. Oh, you're such a weakling. Who wears the pants in the family? What's wrong with you? You become a woman. That's how society thinks. Yeah. Okay. I'd rather become a woman and stay married than become macho man and divorced 6 times a year, which is what's going to happen to you. Jinky, you don't know this story, but I think others may know it, some of you. This young boy, he says to his father, I want to get married. And he goes, okay, I'll train you up. Okay, let's go. What do I do? Okay, say you're sorry. I didn't do anything wrong. No, just say you're sorry. Why should I say I'm sorry? No, just say you're sorry. But why would I say I'm sorry if I do anything wrong? Just say you're sorry. No, say you're sorry. No, what for? Just say you're sorry. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. Okay, now you can get married. Because you're going to have to learn to say you're sorry even if you don't do something wrong. And we all know it takes strength to say I'm sorry. It takes nothing but ego to say I'm right and you're wrong. And that you can find with every person on every street corner in the universe. What's so special about that? So we have this phenomena that the humble brahmachari does what everybody says. Then he gets married and all of a sudden he thinks he's, Da Prabhu. He's the Prabhu now. And his wife has to do whatever he says. That's up to her. He can't force her. That would be nice, that he'd be happy, but it could be the worst thing for him also, that it might inflate his ego. So ladies, you may not want to do everything your husband says because you could get puffed up, right? Yeah, I would do what, I would be humble, chaste, submissive, menial servant, wife to you, but you get puffed up, so I'm not going to do it. That would be like a sitcom joke, a KC sitcom joke. If a husband is on a very elevated platform of Krishna consciousness, just by serving him, wife can achieve all that his husband is entitled to achieve. Yeah, even if he's not elevated. She'll benefit. Yeah, okay. Okay, gentlemen, here are the benefits of marriage. Your husband shares all your devotional credits and you get all her bad karma. And Kamal's like saying, why did you tell me that before I got married? If I would have known. No, we're only kidding. Priyadarshini, we're only kidding. He wouldn't say that. Some other husband might say that. Kamal wouldn't say that. Yeah, so your wife shares in your pious activity and you share in her sins, because it's like you have a guru and you get empowered by his devotional service and he gets all your bad karma. Like, what a deal. Who would ever become a guru? That's like the stupidest thing you could ever do. Right? It's like going into a store and the salespeople in the store steal all your money and they give you all the products that don't work and make you buy them. Like, why would you go to a store and do that? So your wife steals all your good karma and gives you all their bad karma. What a deal. What a deal. Ananda, why one must be always saying, I'm sorry, it's fault, just because the other cannot recognize easily some mistake. Yeah. Sometimes because it's just the only way to dissipate tension or an argument. It'd be the only way to get over it. Sometimes you can say, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. You actually, you may think, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't say anything wrong. And your husband's upset and say, I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention. I didn't know that would upset you. Of course, that could upset him more. You didn't know that it would upset me. We've been married for 86 years and you didn't know that would upset me. Oh my God, I can't live with you anymore. That could happen. It could backfire. But you understand the idea. Normally, if you say that and say, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that would upset you. Or if you want to go further, you can just say, I'm sorry. Even if what you did wasn't wrong, if that's going to pacify the situation, sometimes it might be the best thing. Question from Isha Bhaktin. Can we enjoy Harinam Sankirtan and Seva? I hope you enjoy it, as long as you know it's not for your enjoyment. Yes, the answer, Isha Bhaktin, is you can enjoy it as long as you understand it's not for your enjoyment. And if that confused you, then you can ask for more clarification. If that confused you, ask Tanya, she'll explain. Enjoyment, Isha Bhaktin, enjoyment comes as a byproduct of serving Krishna. So yes, you should enjoy it, but you should not think you're the enjoyer. Krishna is the enjoyer. You should enjoy that Krishna enjoys. Ananda says, especially if I'm not Haridas Thakur, to remain always humble, considering that all is my fault. Oh, yeah. Then what do you do? Suffer, I guess. If you're going to suffer saying I'm sorry and you're going to suffer saying I'm not sorry, probably better suffer saying I'm sorry. It'll probably be less suffering. Let's just say you understand the principle that sometimes saying I'm sorry is the best words you could say, and it's not easy. You know, I could give you a heavy answer, Nanda. She said, if I'm not Haridas, then become Haridas. Stop making excuses. Become Haridas. Be humble. Stop making excuses for not being humble. Of course, the woman's afraid if I do that, then my husband will take advantage of me. So that, all many of these things I read in Shastra about how a woman should be, it's like, wow, this is amazing. You know, how many women in the world are like this? And at the same time, I think it's so easy to be like that if you have a husband who's like Kardama. Or at least it's much easier to be that way when your husband's Kardama. So, we also have to take that in consideration, that if you're not married to Kardama, it may be a little more difficult. And maybe doing the right thing could backfire because the husband takes advantage. I understand that. So I'll leave it to your judgment. But the original discussion was how it's strengthening. It takes strength to say, I'm sorry. Kavita. Why does the wife share only devotion but not his sin? Vice versa. Because you're the wife. Because he's in superior position. You share the sin of your kids up to a certain age. The king shares the sin of the citizens. The superior shares the sins of the dependents. Bharat Bell says, it really takes a plain like life out of a body to say sorry and being humble. A pain like life, yeah. Yeah, but the more you practice, the easier it gets. Okay, today's assignment, ladies and gentlemen, tell 10 people that you're sorry. And they say, sorry for what? You go, I don't know. I was just told to tell 10 people to say I'm sorry. And you're one. I only have 3 more to go. See you later. And you guys in India, you don't have much time left. So the day's almost over, right? So you better go out on the street and find 10 people. Of course, in India, you find 10 people every square foot. So that's not a problem. Right? Isn't it? I think in India, I don't know, maybe Japan's worse. More people per square foot than any. India's crowded everywhere. I've never been to Japan to compare, but China's not like that at all. China has more people, but I guess it's bigger. Well, another thing you can say is, well, if I've ever offended you, please forgive me. That's another one. And the person says, after you tell them that, they say, oh my God, I've been waiting for you to say this for years. You've like offended me hundreds of times. Well, you could be in for a surprise, I guess, if you say that to everybody. But these things are part of what it means to be a Brahmin. Okay. Corbry says, we have a practice mandara that whenever we have an argument, we both apologize. It helps us a lot to lower the tension and be good friends. It's always a challenge. You should pay obeisances every morning. As soon as you say and say, please accept my obeisances and forgive me for any offenses I made. Do that in the morning, you'll have less arguments. This is my new book, How to Reduce Arguments in Marriage. And so the first page says what I just said, and the rest of the pages are blank. And the rest of the pages just say, no, they're not blank. They just say, go back to page 1 and do that. as often as needed. That's my book. We can publish it tomorrow if anybody wants to publish it. You can be co-author if you publish it. Every time when I tell you I'm sorry, you always say, stop saying I'm sorry. There's nothing to be sorry for. Now I'm confused. Yeah, well, you're a special tattva. You don't do anything wrong and you think it's wrong. That's why. I mean, you know, if you actually do something wrong and you say you're sorry, that's good. But if you just think you did something wrong, imagining, yeah. Well, this, like Nadia Mani, you might say something like, I'm sorry, Maharaj, but I'm not Haridas Thakur. Like, I know you're not Haridas Thakur. You don't have to apologize for that. But, you know, when I told you to buy 5D batteries and you bought 50 batteries instead of 5D batteries, you bought 50 other batteries, then you can apologize for that. Right? So don't apologize for the impossible. Or don't apologize for what was not expected. You know how many women have apologized to me for wanting to get married? Oh, Maharaj, I just apologize to you. I feel really bad. I want to get married. It's like, why are you apologizing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So, you know, don't apologize for something that you don't have to apologize for. Just apologize for what, you know, if you do something wrong, and apologize for doing something wrong, and don't think it's wrong if it's not. That's the point. Okay, so all's well that ends well. More nectar from Vena. He's our great teacher. I love him. Learned so much from him, how not to be. And we'll have our japa class.